So yeah, I am coming to you from Southeast Alaska. And as some of you know, I am a ranger with the National Park Service in Glacier Bay National Park here in Southeast Alaska. And Glacier Bay, I know some of you have probably been here, but it's a place, it's famous for its mountains and for its glaciers and for its humpback whales. Because you see, whales migrate from the warm wintering grounds near Hawaii. They migrate up to the park every summer to feed in our nutrient-rich waters. And we have researchers who study these whales. And we actually have a hydrophone that goes out underwater into the middle of the bay, and it records the acoustic environment. And every now and then, that hydrophone picks up the sound of a humpback whale singing. Now, if you have never heard a humpback whale sing before, the males are the ones that sing, and they put together these unearthly tones that sound something like it is amazing. And the first time I was sitting with a researcher and I heard this little snippet of that humpback whale sound, I was just blown away. But the researcher said, oh, this is nothing. You have got to put it on your bucket list to go down to Hawaii in the winter months when the males are really singing and go snorkeling. So there I am in a snorkel boat in the warm waters of Hawaii. I have got on some fins, I've got on a wetsuit, I've got on a mask and snorkel, I've got a fanny pack on with some emergency gear. I'm a bit of a nerd that way. And in the water all around us, there are humpback whales. And they are singing, and the song is so intense that if you put your hands on the sides of this boat, the metal hull, you can feel them vibrating. So we're getting ready to go in the water. And the one thing about humpback whales is they do not have teeth. What they have are plates of baleen, which is this flexible material. And that's what they use to sieve the water. They sieve the fish out, and the fish is what they eat. So to get in the water with the humpback whales, you know, I wasn't afraid of being, chewed up. It's not like getting in the water with sharks. But humpback whales are enormous. I mean, they're the size of a bus. So my snorkel buddy and I were in that boat. We look at each other and we flip over the side of the boat into the water. And right there, boom, there is this huge male. And he is swimming back and forth, and he is singing. And I am mesmerized. And after I watched him a while, out of the corner of my eye, I turn, I see a female, and she's got a little calf. And I'm like, oh, this little baby whale was born that winter in Hawaii. And so it's like, oh, mother and child. And I am mesmerized. So I'm watching this mother and her baby. And I turn back just in time to see my snorkel buddy go. And all of a sudden, I am just engulfed in blackness. My fins are ripped off, my snorkel's ripped off, my mask is gone, I can't breathe, and I black out. Now, when I came to, it was all black. And it sounded like I was in a room. I could hear the sound of dripping water. And then I remembered that in my fanny pack, I had some matches. So I lit a match. And I held up the match, and I could see that I was on something that was soft and pink, and it was damp. And it was then that I realized that I was in the belly of the whale. And so I stood up, I could feel this motion, and I started lighting match after match, trying to find my way around. And well, lucky, in the belly of this whale, kind of lodged in the corner, I found the ruins of a ship. I don't know how old it was, but it was old. And so I went fishing around, and in a trunk, I found a lamp that had some oil in it. So I lit the lamp, and at last I could see. And so at last Now, if you've never been in the belly of a whale before, or if you've never studied whale anatomy, which is actually really good for this story, The way it works is that when you go in the whale's mouth, you go past those plates of baleen, and then you get to the back of the throat. There's that little punching bag there, you know, the uvula. And then you go past that, and then it just opens up. It's like a big cavern, you know, like a big gymnasium. And when I looked up, I could see the blowhole, and it would open, and I would see blue sky and clouds, and then it would close. And I realized that was how I was going to escape. But how was I ever going to get up there? Well, luckily, in that the ruins of the ship, I found what Antonio did not have, or Antonio's uncle, and that was a crate of food. I don't know how old it was, but it was still good. And so after a while, you know, I started to wonder, well, what's the whale going to swallow another mouthful of water? In which case I might drown, or it might bring in another snorkeler who would be company, but it never happened. What saved me in that whale was the fact that in the ruins of the ship, I found a bookshelf. So I just took the thickest book that was on the shelf, opened it up, and started to read. Call me Ishmael. Now, I want you to know that I read every single page of Moby Dick, even those long, long passages about whaling. And when I was done and I closed the book, I was like, whoa, no wonder this whale is so pissed off. At this point, you know, I don't know, one day kind of faded into the next. I really had no idea how long I had been in that whale. And unbeknownst to me, back in Glacier Bay, it turns out that my colleagues had discovered that I'd gone missing. And so they were planning this memorial service. And what they were going to do is they were going to go out into the bay on a boat. And then they were going to say, you know, all sorts of nice things about me. It's not that hard. And then at the end, they were going to take my Ranger flat hat and they were going to toss it out over the waves, and then it would land and would sort of sink beneath the surface. And I mean, the whole thing was going to be very powerful and moving. But meanwhile, back in the whale, you know, I was really feeling the need for some exercise. Well, luckily on that bookshelf, there was this book, and it was called How to Tap Dance in 12 Easy Lessons. I'd always wanted to tap dance, never had the time. Now I had time. So I set in. And it must have been, it was probably about lesson 5. I was doing this shuffle, step, turn, and I kept practicing that, you know, shuffle, step, turn, shuffle, step, turn, shuffle, step, turn, when all of a sudden the whale gave this spasm. And when the whale gave the spasm, I suddenly shot up into the air almost halfway to the blowhole. Well, that gave me an idea. So I started working through those lessons 6, 7, 8, 9, with every lesson, every step, those spasms of the whale were getting bigger and bigger, and I was getting closer and closer to the blowhole. Well, finally, it was lesson 12. I am like, man, if I don't make it now, I'm never going to make it. So I just am pouring it on, dancing with all of my heart. All of a sudden, there is this tremendous spasm. I go shooting up through the blowhole. I go up into the clear blue sky, and what do I see? The familiar mountains and glaciers of Glacier Bay. The whale has migrated back. Now, this happens at the exact same time that as I'm shooting up into the air, my colleagues have tossed my Ranger flat hat. So as I'm going to shoot in the air, my Ranger flat hat comes towards me. I catch it on my head. I my colleagues. I splash down, and I am saved. Well, I've got to tell you that after all the dust settled, I tell one of the researchers about my experience in the whale. And she says, you know, I don't think that's ever been documented before. So I wrote it up. It was published in Scientific American. It was called Tickling Whales Through Tap Dancing. It caused quite a stir, and I have been told that I should brace myself for an early morning phone call from Sweden. I'm thinking to myself, when I go to accept my Nobel Prize, I don't know if I should wear my ranger uniform or maybe my wetsuit, but this I will guarantee. I will most certainly be wearing tap shoes.
Yeah.